All right, everybody, it's 5:30. Welcome to the Contextual Christian Church Bible Study, where today we're going to get into Second Kings, chapter 25, verses 13 to 26. I'm going to pray it in, and we'll go ahead and get started. Bow your heads. Father, thank you for making sure that we can get on this Bible study, including Thomas. Thank you for making sure that Thomas was able to be a part of the study and to be a part of what we're going to get into with the lessons and the context. I pray that the context that we're going to get into is a little bit easier to understand. And yeah, in Jesus' name, amen.
All right, I did have it unmuted. Good. All right, so last time what we had gone through, we had uh, started the beginning of chapter 25. Now, I scrolled too far. There we go. Starting from verse 1. And we got more information, a little confirmation on whose eighth year we were talking about. That it actually wasn't the eighth year of Jehoiakim or the eighth year of Zedekiah or the ninth year of Zedekiah, but because for a few months. Oh, can you hear?
It's starting to
Hello?
go in and out. Try it again.
Okay, no, I got a call from the shipper. They're gonna have to wait. All right, so anyways, Nebuchadnezzar was the actual kingdom, his reign that we were reading about based on that context. And then he had taken over Jerusalem in the 11th year of Zedekiah. So, I mean, until the 11th year, where Zedekiah was king for 11 years, until that time. So we had basically gone back and forth with same old about taking over the kingdom and following through with what God had promised because of Manasseh and because of Hezekiah. So everything was being taken away to Babylon. And this is when it was happening. As we had some time of peace because of Josiah, and we had the setup going because of the Pharaoh Necho, who was still alive. Only the king of Assyria, Josiah.
Matt, going out again. Think you might be in the call.
I had to let them know because they were going to keep on calling and interrupting.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, sorry about that. They just happened to finish right at the time we would start. Back to the summary, though, we had where the king Nebuchadnezzar not only had he taken over Jerusalem, but also he had burnt the house of the Lord, the temple that Solomon had built, and he had groups from the army of the Chaldees, and there was with them the captain of the guard, and he broke down the walls of Jerusalem. So we're just having utter destruction coming through because of Nebuchadnezzar, which was actually not even because of Nebuchadnezzar, but actually because of Manasseh and Hezekiah. And so now we brought in the last couple of verses in verse 11 and 12, where the only people that were left in the city were the people that were left behind because they were the poorest of the city, so people that couldn't do nothing for themselves, and the fugitive, the escapees that were imprisoned or being held, running away from this or trying to avoid becoming prisoners from Babylon, and the remnant of the multitude. So only the people that were left behind of the children of Israel, pretty much the nobodies. And it brought up in verse 12 about how the captain of the guard left the people that were the poor of the land, and they ended up becoming the ones who took care of the vineyards and who took care of the buildings. So that's pretty much all that was left, that was the people in poverty. And now I'll go ahead and switch it to the first section. And we'll get started today in verse 13 when Charles is ready.
All right, I'll read the first section, Second Kings, chapter 25, verses 13 to 17. I'm going to give it a couple seconds. Verse 13. and the pillars of brass that were in the house of the Lord, and the bases and the brazen sea that was in the house of the Lord, did the Chaldees break in pieces and carry the brass of them to Babylon, and the pots and the shovels and the snuffers and the spoons and all the vessels of brass wherewith they ministered took thee away, and the fire pans and the bowls and such things as were of gold, in gold and of silver, in silver the captain of the guard took away. The two pillars, one sea, and the base which Solomon had made for the house of the Lord, the brazen or the brass of all these vessels was without weight. The height of one pillar was 18 cubits, and the chapiter upon it was brass, and the height of the chapiter 3 cubits, and the wreathen work and pomegranates upon the chapiter round about, all of brass, and like unto these had the second pillar with wreathen work. Also, that sucks. We spent days talking about all of the things that was built for the house of the house of the Lord itself, and all it talks about vessels. This would be like utensils that you would have in your house or in your kitchen. We spent days talking about it. So first things first, in my part, um, they break down the pillars of the house of the Lord. They break down some of the sculptures and some of the things for the house of the Lord. They break it into pieces and they take away the brass and carry that to Babylon. Next are the utensils that I brought up earlier, like pots, shovels, spoons, all of that stuff. They took that away. The stuff of brass they took away. Same with more utensils, more pots, pans, bowls. But right here we got the fire pans. We got bowls, in gold and in silver. The captain of them, the captain of the guard, had took away. And then we get some details of some of the things that was built for the house of the Lord, like pillars, um, other statues, other things that it would be better if I put a picture up to fully explain these. But with these two pillars, the two pillars don't have any weight, and we get the
Don't
height
have
of
any
it.
weight?
Let me go back.
They were weightless, Charles?
The brass of all these vessels was without weight. Pillars, one C,
Does
and the
brass
base
have weight,
was
Charles? Is brass like anti-gravity that it has
no,
no
no,
weight?
no.
So you better
The
re-explain that.
brass. Oh no, my bad. Without, I forgot when we use without in the Bible, like without, if I'm not mistaken, that was outside, right?
Mm-hmm.
Outside. Okay. Let me reread that. The two pillars, one C, one of the bases. So the pillars and one of the little things they built, the Solomon had built for the house of the Lord. Now, what I got to try to explain is was without weight. So without, we always talk about is like an outside thing, like
Yep,
outside of this or outside. Without Jerusalem would be outside Jerusalem.
exactly. So
But
then
when
what
it
is he trying to
says
get at?
that's the part where the brass of all these vessels was outside weight, that's what I'm trying to think about. Like, what is he trying to? What is the writer trying to put the picture of in our head when we re-explain this?
Well, what has he been showing and
Because in
all
my
this stuff?
section, we've been talking about them taking all of it or breaking stuff down.
Yeah, exactly. They're taking everything they can, right? That's a lot of stuff, right?
A lot of brass, silver, gold. Uh huh.
Yeah. So if
That
it's a
ain't even
lot of
all of it,
stuff,
really.
exactly.
Oh, so they're just taking it. So this on verse 16, they're just talking about taking the stuff, then even taking it out of the
Nah,
house of God.
uh-uh. The brass of all these vessels was without weight. We know it can't mean weightless. We just said that.
Right.
So what would be another reason to say that there was no weight? How do people describe? I can't say that. I'll give you the answer. You know what? Screw it. I said I was going to start doing that if you guys can't figure it out. It means immeasurable, Charles. It was so much weight that they couldn't even scale it.
I need to write that down for future reference. I would have never, ever thought of that.
Well, we had this happen before when he was building it, right? When he was building the temple, there was weights of gold or silver, other things that it talked about that it was without weight. There was
No,
so
I don't
much
remember.
so that they
I
couldn't
don't remember
measure
it
it.
being. I don't remember it being labeled the same way. Was without weight. So, and what we're talking about here, everything that I've been reading, or just in this portion of them taking the brass, the gold, the silver, so much so that they couldn't weigh it. That's how much stuff
Exactly.
they were breaking and taking, which sucks
Exactly.
because we
Because they
spent.
scaled everything else, right? Everything else
Hmm.
was scaled. So everything else had a weight. Well, what would have to happen for you not to have a weight of something? You'd have to not scale it.
Hmm. And
All
the
right.
last thing I wanted to add on was it bringing up one of the pillars. It brought up the size, um, and the description of the brass on the chapter, the height of the chapter. Um,
You haven't said what the chapter is, though.
um, I don't remember what was the chapter. I think the chapter was a.
Chapter is the part that connects the pillar to the ceiling or the pillar to the floor that has a flat part on and it curves in. That's the chapter.
So we know the pillar would be. I can consider it like I can just say it as a foundation. Um, the chapter would be right on top of it before you get to
Yep.
the roof,
Yep.
which that
Holding
was
it
of
up to it.
brass. Hmm. And it brought up the wreathen work of pomegranates upon the chapter. When it says the wreathen works, correct me if I'm wrong, that's like a netting design with the pomegranates in it. It's a
Yep. When you
pomegranate
think of
design with
wreathen
net
works,
design
think
in it.
of a wreath from Christmas time that they put on their doors,
Yep.
how it's woven in on itself.
And this design is all around this chapter that's supposed to be between the foundation and the roof, which was brass. And
Exactly.
yeah, that's all I wanted to bring up for that section. So we spent days talking about that stuff. Now it's gonna take us a couple sections for them to destroy and steal.
It's always easier to destroy something than it is to steal and take away. I mean, that is to build.
In the build, yeah, I got you.
All right, good. But there's a lesson in that we can take into our own lives for today. And what is that lesson?
Um, I'm thinking about something personally. It would be easier for me to just give up on all I've been trying to work towards and build versus what I'm still trying to build and what I'm trying to go for.
Exactly. In our lives, the things that we want to have in our lives, they take effort, real effort and time. And there will be some problems, there will be some struggles that you have to fight through. But if you ever want to destroy the life you're building, if you ever are so emotional or whatever the cause is that you want to get rid of something that you've taken so long to build, it don't take that long. It don't take that much effort as at all. It may take 2 years to build a house, but if you really put effort into it, it would take you one day, not even a whole day, to destroy it. All you'd have to do is break up the foundation and set everything on fire. It will always be easier to destroy than to build. That's why in our lives, if there's something we want out of it, we have to understand that getting to a better place in life, getting to a stronger faith, getting to a better financial position, getting better family and friendships, all of that is going to take hard work. And be cautious. lest you allow your emotions to rip up everything you've built for years in a day or less. All right. Now go ahead, Charles, with the second section when you're ready.
All right. So for the second section, I'm going to be reading 2 Kings chapter 25, verses 18 to 22. I'll give it a couple seconds. Verse 18. And the captain of the guard took Seraiah, the chief priest, and Zephaniah, the second priest, and the three keepers of the door. And out of the city he took an officer that was set over the men of war, and 5 men of them that were in the king's presence, which were found in the city, and the principal scribe of the host, which mustered the people of the land, and 60 men of the people of the land that were found in the city. And Nebuzaradan, captain of the guard, took these and brought them to the king of Babylon, to Riblah. And the king of Babylon and the king of Babylon smote them and slew them at Riblah in the land of Hamath. So Judah was carried away out of their land. And as for the people that remained in the land of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had left, even over them he had Gedaliah, the son of Ahikam, or how do you Ahikam? There we go. Ahikam, the son of Shaphan, ruler. Well, that sucks. So, so this captain of the guard, he takes. Let's break it down. Seraiah. He takes Saphaniah, 3 keepers of the door, and out of the city, an officer that's over the soldiers of war. 5 men that were in the king's presence. Who else they get? It brought up a principal scribe. So like principal being like the main one, and scribe was, we talked about this.
Not
He
main.
right in the principal from a
What does the
head
principle
person.
of the matter mean?
You said what is the principle of
The
of
principle
the
of the
matter?
matter. If I
Wouldn't that
say that,
be
what does the principle part mean?
the most important?
There you go.
So the most important scribe, and a scribe was someone who writes all the things that take place down, like someone writing a script to a story.
See,
So
the
you got
difference
that.
between saying the most important scribe, the number one scribe, which means the most important too, or saying the top scribe can be describing the quality of their work, right? That could all
Hmm.
be all it's describing. And then the top scribe could also be necessarily, possibly, I mean, that top scribe could be the one in charge of the other scribes. It could be that, but that doesn't specify that's most important, because just because you're in charge of the scribe, does that mean that you're the most important scribe? Just because you're the best at what you do, does that mean you're the most important scribe? Not necessarily. But if you say the number one scribe or the most important scribe, then you're including all the parts that it could mean. You see what I'm saying?
Hmm. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Can you still hear me?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I don't know why my Zoom made it look like I was muted, but I'm not muted.
that's weird.
Yeah. So he's grabbing all of these people. There's more. I'm
Yep.
forgetting somebody. 60 men, so that's 60 men of the land. And the captain of the guard brought him to the king of Babylon, to Riblah, and the king of Babylon killed them. Oh man, they are making sure they are laying waste to Judah. So the king of Babylon kills the ones that I was trying to bring up. And then those that were left, because we talked about the ones that were left would be like tillers of the ground, the farmers of the ground, the poorest of the poor that take care of the land. He left somebody to be over them. And this person was Gedaliah. So even though he left the poorest of the poor, he wanted to make sure he covered all his bases, no stone unturned. Man, this is crazy what's going on in these couple chapters of Second Kings.
It goes to show what kind of leader he is. He may be wicked, but he's definitely wise. And
Yeah.
there's a lesson even in that. Do not assume just because somebody's wicked that that means that they are foolish or that that person is not someone to come against you just because you follow God. The thing is, if it's God's will, that person will be successful, whether you want it to or not. Now, we know if we're serving God that he'll take care of us. We know that. But even in the smallest slip up, if we choose to run away or we choose to not deal with it, then we see what happens from that. We see what happens from that from here. God will bring in a ruler. And this goes in to show another point that we've talked about before about God bringing in this wicked ruler who's smart enough to take over and do this. God had to have Nebuchadnezzar established to such a level to take on the king of Egypt and the Assyrians and the Israelites and still be successful. Charles, if God had not let the Nebuchadnezzar be built up, would that have been possible?
Well, no, because you brought up he had to go against Egypt and the Assyrians before he got to Israel.
Exactly. So God will allow, and even based on their choices, will use wicked people in their wickedness for situations like this. Like people ask, well, if God's so loving, why would he allow wicked people to be on the earth? Well, sometimes righteous people need discipline and need punishment, and they're not going to want to hear it. They're not going to want to have it. We saw this from Israel right now with Manasseh, with everything going on. They didn't want to be disciplined. They didn't want to do what's right. I mean, Charles, how many times have we seen Israel be taken into captivity, then they finally repent and do right by God?
Many.
Exactly. Many times we've seen that. And so, as we've seen, God allowed evil kingdoms to prosper. And so, if you looked at the evil kingdom prospering before this point, you might sit here and think that on the outside looking in, if you don't understand God, you would look at it like, man, your God is supposedly the God of everything, but he lets this evil prosper. He let this Babylonian king prosper. He let the king of Egypt prosper. How could he possibly be called God? How? Well, there's a reason why they were able to prosper. And it's because he knew what kind of people the children of Israel were becoming and would become, being the fact that God is outside of time. And so it is through the prosperity of wicked that righteous people can be punished. That doesn't take away from the wickedness of the wicked, it's still their choices. All God does is manipulate based on their choices, but it's still their choices. But in that situation, it's because the righteous need a punishment. Or maybe they, on the other side, we've seen wicked people come to the rescue of the righteous against a different wicked person or wicked group. So whether it's wicked people in that sense of the righteous need to be punished, or that the righteous are too weak and need to be saved, God uses wicked people for his purposes just as much as he uses the righteous. Nothing is outside of his control. Now then, as we're going to go ahead and switch to the final portion, does anybody have any questions or comments? All right. verse 23 to 26. And when all the captains of the armies, they and their men, heard that the king of Babylon had made Gedaliah governor, there came to Gedaliah to Mizpah even Ishmael, the son of Nathaniah, and Jonathan, the son of Kareah. All right, let me just be sure that that's not an S noise. There it is. There it is. Yeah, Kareah. Okay, so it was the C noise. All right, where was it? To Gedaliah, to Mizpah, even Ishmael, the son of Nathaniah, and Jonathan, the son of Kareah, and Seraiah, the son of Tanhumeth, the Netophathite, and Yaazaniah, the son of a Maakathite, they and their men. And Gedaliah sware unto them and to their men, and said unto them, Fear not to be the servants of the Chaldees. Dwell in the land, serve the king of Babylon, and it shall be well with you. But it came to pass in the 7th month that Ishmael, the son of Nathaniah, the son of Elishama, the seed royal of the seed royal, came, and 10 men with him, and smote Gedaliah, that he died, and the Jews and the Chaldees that were with him at Mizpah. And all the people, both small and great, and the captains of the armies arose and came to Egypt, for they were afraid of the Chaldees. So we had where the king of Babylon has set up this guy to be in charge, Gedaliah, to be governor over it. And he heard that the captains of the armies and their men, as it said in 23, that they heard the king of Babylon made Gedaliah governor, and they came to Gedaliah. So the king of Babylon said his people came to Gedaliah. The people came to it, and Gedaliah sitting there telling them, like, look, listen, hear me out. Hear me out. If we just do what the king of Babylon says, everything's going to be just perfect. All you have to do is just serve under them, serve under the Chaldees, serve under these people. But Ishmael, the son of Nathaniah, the son of Elishama, he was of royal blood. That's what the seed royal means. Of the seed royal, meaning he came from royal blood. He was with 10 men and they killed Gedaliah. And we know that because when it said that they smote Gedaliah, it also said that he died. And so the Jews and the Chaldees that were with him at Mizpah, they knew that after killing him, it's going to be a bigger problem. So what do they go do? They flee and ran to Egypt because of their fear of the Chaldees. Hey, at least they made some effort to get under the ruling, but still, like, you're going to sit here and kill the people that took you over, kill their people, and then run to the Pharaoh of Egypt. Like, that's really fit.
As if Egypt didn't lose to Babylon.
I was just about to say that, as if Egypt didn't just get pushed back. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of Satanists. Now, Thomas said he would be able to answer. I don't know if go ahead and unmute if you are, because I'll give a question to you to get you involved. All right. Then Charles. Oh, wait. I just saw him on mute. Never mind. Okay. He must have just lost signal or something. Anyway, so Charles, to the question go the spoils. No, I'm just playing. To you. How does their reaction to running to King Pharaoh, how does their reaction, how is it similar to Satanists today?
Um. Well, yeah, you got me on that because I don't really know what a. I just know they don't represent us; they represent Satan. But I don't know what else they do for as a Satanist.
All right. Thomas, are you no, you got lost to join back on. Are you able to respond? Otherwise, I'll give an answer.
Sorry, repeat that question.
All
Somebody had
right.
called in and I couldn't hear anything.
No, you're fine. When uh when the Jews here killed Gedaliah and then ran to Egypt, who had, as Charles brought up, had already lost to the king of Babylon, and Gedaliah was a worker under the king of Babylon. How does that compare to Satanists today? How is that similar to Satanists today?
When they lose, say for instance they're standing strong on something, then it gets debunked, they run to the next thing.
No, but good try. You didn't take the context of the situation into account. As I brought up, Gedaliah was a servant of the king of Babylon, and they just killed him and then ran to Pharaoh, king of Egypt, who had already lost to Babylon. That's the situation.
Oh,
So
okay.
here's the answer. Satanists worship Satan, but Satan lost already. And I'm not even talking about end times lost. I'm talking about when he first rose up against God and got cast down to earth. He already lost. Why would you worship the one that lost? Why would you run to the one that lost? King Pharaoh, king of Egypt, lost to the king of Babylon. So it would be one thing if you ran to God. If you went into prayer, you started fasting, you started doing everything in your power to serve God. That would be one thing. That makes sense. But you ran to the group, the Egyptians, who just lost, or in a Satanist life today, you run to a individual who has already lost to God, has proven he's not strong enough. That's just stupid. But hey, and this goes into the part that Thomas did bring up. When you ain't trying to do right and what you're doing ain't working out, instead of running to the thing that is right, you'll run to something else that's wrong. That part connects. But the big similarity and what leads to that part is the fact that you're worshiping someone who lost. You're running to someone who lost, which is just dumb. All right. Now then, does anybody have any comments or any questions before we go ahead and pray it out?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, it takes me freaking forever to get to the mic. But I don't
You're
know if you know,
fine.
but this month is Pastor Appreciation Month, man. So I just want to let you know that we appreciate you and all the things that you do and allowing God to utilize you as a vessel.
Huh?
Did you hear what I said?
Yeah. I heard what you said. I appreciate the comment, but
It's
Pastor,
Pastor Appreciation Month.
I ain't even heard of that. Charles, have you
Yeah,
ever
man,
heard of
look it
that?
up.
No, I think that's. I guarantee you, if y'all go on Facebook, it's probably all over Facebook.
Okay, let me
And on
look this
every
up real
Christian
quick.
radio, do you guys listen to the Christian radio when you're in your car driving at all?
No, I use
um,
Pandora because I don't like the commercials and the false teachings.
Oh man, everybody's talking
on
about Pastor Appreciation Month.
on
Didn't
Faith
even know it
Radio,
existed.
the people I listen to on Faith Radio, they never brought it up. I wish they did.
Oh yeah, Pastor. Wait, why October?
Right. That's what I was thinking. Like,
October is
why October?
Halloween. Why is Halloween the month? Like not the month of, and I know it's false doctrine, but Christmas. Why not that month? Why not the month that in February or March, just before Jesus' crucifixion? Why not one of those months? Why not June, the month after? Well, no, June would actually be bad because June Pride Month. July, Independence Day. Being a pastor is leading people outside of the world, so you're making them independent from evil. Why not that? Like, why October? Oh, I appreciate it, but I didn't even know that existed. Oh, well, thanks for the sentiment, Thomas. Lessons were learned today. All right, now then, everybody go ahead, and if you can bow your head, Thomas, don't you dare bow your head and be with your eyes closed. But if you can bow your head, I'll go ahead and pray us out from the Bible study. Father, thank you for this day that you've given us. And thank you for every second not promised. And thank you for the lessons that we were able to learn today and the correlation of how people still do the same thing. Just like Satanists today, or just like the Israelites here in what we're reading, doing all they can to follow somebody else but you. And I appreciate for the sentiment of the Pastor Appreciation Month. I didn't even know that existed. So that's awesome. And that was something new. And I pray that, you know what? With that in mind, I want to add this part of the prayer. We should be appreciating one another every month, every day of the month. Not just me as pastor, but each other. If we don't have a heart to reach out to one another, even just to say hello and how was your day, how can we ever expect to be a family? And how can we ever expect to be united when somebody comes in or something comes in to divide? So I pray that with that idea of Pastor Appreciation Month, I pray that we just show appreciation to each other on a regular basis. Just like how people talk about Christmas time and being on your best behavior, we're supposed to be on our best behavior at all times, not just one season out of the year, not because we're going to get some gifts out of it. We should be doing this because it's the right thing to do and because we care about each other. And so, God, I pray that we could do better on that. And I pray that we show love to one another, not at the sacrifice of righteousness, but at the envelopment and growth into righteousness. Because without love, we are not your disciples. And without righteousness, we are not your disciples either, let alone your servants. In your Son's holy and precious name, Jesus Christ Yeshua. Amen.
Amen.
All right, everybody. Y'all have a wonderful night. I'm about to go grab the paperwork and head out. And thanks, Thomas, for letting me know it's Pastor Appreciation Month. Oh, let me say this, though. Y'all are disrespectful. Y'all all almost leave the church on a month that's supposed to be appreciating the pastor. Y'all failed, every single one of you. I just want you to know that. Like of all months y'all pick,
Let me
that's the
say
month
this.
y'all gonna pick.
Let me
Like,
say this though. Why they choose October, bro? It's like a disrespect to the pastors, man. They knew all this gobbledygook was gonna happen. Like people with that demonic mindset, bro.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, you picked the 1 month that the whole emphasis is on literally demons and ghosts and ghouls, and that's your month. You're like, appreciate the pastor, the pastor. You know what that sounds like? That sounds like some pastor felt like his people didn't love him and didn't care about him, and they were so willing to get involved in Halloween beyond the point that's acceptable, because there is a level that's acceptable as Christians, but there's a level beyond that that's not. But they were going so far, it's like, man, everything that I've done doesn't even matter because y'all care more about this holiday than you do about what I've been doing and everything that God's doing in your life. And so some pastor chose that because of a situation like that. I would not be surprised. Actually, here's what it says. Pastor Appreciation Month is celebrated in October with Pastor Appreciation Day on the second Sunday of the month. The month was established in 1992 to recognize and encourage the work of pastors, missionaries, and other religious workers. All right, so I guess it's just appreciating it. And then it says, like, here are some ways to show appreciation for pastors. Consider the pastor's interests and hobbies. I'm doing my salesman type voice. Consider the pastor's interest and hobbies. And ask members of the church to bring a small gift related to one of them. For example, you could bring a bag of candy, a hat, a travel mug, or a gift card. Why do all those sound like Halloween gifts? A hat, a witch's hat, a bag of candy, a
Very
travel
much so.
mug, or like
They're trying to get you in them stores. They got to get you to buy the stuff somehow.
this is so funny. Or so you're a small gesture like giving a pastor a tin of popcorn with the card. When do you use popcorn? You use it when you're watching movies. What movies would be on in October? Horror films. This ain't about appreciating the pastor. This is about trying to manipulate people into getting people more involved in Halloween and trying to get the pastors to feel like they're involved without having them think about the sinfulness of it. That's what this is. I truly believe that. Because why would those be the suggested gifts? Why would a pastor want candy? First of all, we supposed to be stewards of our body. So you trying to tempt me to do a worse job. A hat. Why would a pastor need a hat? What kind of person doesn't have hats? I got like 30 hats at the house. They'll give me a hat, a travel mug. What's a mug for? Oh, putting liquids into it. You know what else it goes into? What liquids go into that during Halloween? Alcohol. And a gift card, money. This is a manipulation for Halloween. I stand by that. I'm claiming that this is a manipulation for Halloween, and I'm not rejecting that idea, in fact, at all. So, anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and close out the Bible study with all the jokes and the situation combined, all figured out. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. I gotta remember to crop this to the beginning and the end on this one.